My wife claimed her ex was violent. I found out she'd lied to win their divorce and planned to do the same to me. I filed for divorce and anonymously sent the evidence to her ex's attorney. 3 weeks later, her ex's lawyer was aggressively calling about perjury charges. I, 34M, never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here I am at 2 a.m., unable to sleep, with my life completely turned upside down. 6 years of marriage, and I thought I knew the woman sleeping next to me. Turns out, I was living with a stranger. It started 3 months ago when I found a folder on our shared laptop. My wife had forgotten to log out of her cloud storage, and I noticed a folder labeled Divorce Strategy that caught my attention. I know I shouldn't have looked, but something in my gut told me I needed to. That folder changed everything. Inside were detailed notes about how she had fabricated abuse allegations against her ex-husband during their divorce 5 years ago. There were actual scripts she'd written for herself before court appearances, photos she had edited to look like bruises, and emails to her attorney discussing how to sell the story convincingly. Reading through it made me physically sick. This man, someone I'd been conditioned to hate based on her stories, had his life destroyed by calculated lies. But that wasn't even the worst part. There was a subfolder labeled with my initials. Opening it revealed a similar playbook, but this time I was the target. Notes about my controlling behavior, plans to move money from our joint accounts, and even a document titled Incident Log, with dates and descriptions of arguments that either never happened or were dramatically exaggerated. I sat there staring at the screen for what felt like hours, trying to process that the woman I loved was planning to do to me exactly what she'd done to her ex. The coldness of it all was staggering. There were even notes about which judge to try to get assigned to our case based on who was most sympathetic to abuse claims. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I made copies of everything and stored them securely. Then I contacted a divorce attorney the next day while she was at work. My lawyer's face when I showed him the evidence said everything. He'd seen dirty divorces before, but this level of premeditation was shocking even to him. You need to protect yourself, he told me. And quickly. Over the next 2 weeks, I quietly moved half our joint funds to a separate account, gathered all my important documents, and found a small apartment to move into. I also did something that my attorney advised against, but that my conscience wouldn't let me ignore. I anonymously compiled all the evidence about her previous divorce and sent it to her ex-husband's attorney. The day I moved out, I left divorce papers on the kitchen table. Her texts started flooding in within hours, first confused, then angry, then suddenly switching to a frightening vulnerability I now recognized as manipulation. I didn't respond to any of them, following my lawyer's advice to keep all communication through proper legal channels. 3 weeks passed with minimal contact except through our attorneys. Then it happened. She called me 17 times in one evening, each voicemail more frantic than the last. Apparently, her ex's attorney had contacted her lawyer with the evidence I'd sent, threatening perjury charges and a lawsuit for defamation and fraudulent divorce settlement. She was facing potential criminal charges and financial ruin. "You did this, didn't you?" she screamed in her final message. "You're going to regret this. I swear to God you will." But I didn't regret it. For the first time in months, I slept soundly that night. Update 1. It's been 2 months since my last post, and things have escalated beyond what I could have imagined. The divorce proceedings are moving forward, but that's actually the least complicated part of this situation now. My wife's ex-husband filed a motion to vacate their divorce judgment based on fraud upon the court. His attorney submitted all the evidence I provided, and the judge was apparently furious. There was a preliminary hearing that I wasn't part of, but my attorney has contacts who kept me informed. Apparently, the judge used the phrase egregious miscarriage of justice multiple times. Meanwhile, my soon-to-be ex has completely changed tactics. After her initial rage, she's now playing the victim in spectacular fashion. She showed up at my workplace crying, claiming she didn't mean any of it, and that the documents were just therapeutic exercises her therapist had recommended. My coworkers were uncomfortable, and my boss pulled me aside afterward to ask if everything was okay. I had to explain the situation, which was humiliating but necessary. She's also been telling mutual friends that I'm mentally unstable and twisting things. Some believed her at first. She's always been charming and convincing. But that changed when her ex's attorney deposed several of our friends for his case. They were shown the actual documents, and now most of them have distanced themselves from her. The few who still believe her have been sending me nasty messages, which I've been documenting for my attorney. The most disturbing development came last week when I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was her ex-husband. He'd managed to get my contact information and wanted to thank me. His voice cracked as he explained how her false accusations had cost him his job, most of his friends, and his relationship with his family. He'd been rebuilding his life for years, always under the cloud of being labeled an abuser. "You saved me," he said. I'd given up on ever clearing my name. We talked for almost an hour. He wasn't at all the monster she'd described. He was just a normal guy who had been systematically destroyed by someone he'd once loved. The parallels to my situation were chilling, and I couldn't help but think that without finding that folder, I would have been next. Update 2. 4 months into this nightmare, and the legal system is finally taking action. The district attorney's office has opened an investigation into my wife for perjury, falsifying evidence, and fraud. They've subpoenaed all the records from both divorce cases, and my attorney says the evidence is overwhelming. She's hired a criminal defense attorney now, in addition to her divorce lawyer. According to my attorney, they've approached him about a potential deal. She'll agree to my terms in the divorce if I lose the evidence about her previous divorce. I refused immediately. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about her ex-husband getting justice. The financial impact on her has been severe. Her employer, a nonprofit organization that works with domestic violence survivors, placed her on administrative leave when they learned about the investigation. The irony would be satisfying if the whole situation weren't so tragic. She's been calling mutual friends asking for loans, claiming I've frozen her out of our assets, which isn't true. The court has simply prevented either of us from depleting marital assets while the divorce is pending. I ran into her sister at the grocery store last week. I braced myself for hostility, but instead, she pulled me aside and apologized. Apparently, my wife had pulled similar manipulative tactics within her family for years. Her sister had always suspected something wasn't right, but couldn't put her finger on it. She's always been able to make herself the victim, she told me. Since we were kids. I'm sorry you got caught in it. That conversation was oddly healing. It helped me understand that I wasn't crazy for missing the signs. Her deception was a finely honed skill developed over decades. Meanwhile, her ex-husband's civil case against her is proceeding. His attorney believes he has a strong claim for the return of assets she was awarded in their divorce, plus damages for the impact on his career and reputation. My attorney has advised me to stay somewhat distanced from that case to avoid any appearance of collusion, but I've agreed to provide a deposition if needed. The most unexpected development has been my own emotional journey. The anger is still there, but it's being replaced by something else, a sense of purpose. By exposing the truth, I'm not just protecting myself. I'm potentially preventing her from doing this to someone else in the future. Update 3. It's been nearly 8 months since this all began, and today marked what I hope is the final chapter of this ordeal. The divorce was finalized last month, surprisingly straightforward once all the deception was exposed. The judge awarded me a favorable settlement given the circumstances, though honestly, I would have signed anything just to be legally free of her. The criminal case reached its conclusion today. She accepted a plea deal on the perjury charges, 18 months probation, community service, and mandatory therapy. The prosecutor had pushed for jail time, but her attorney successfully argued that this was her first criminal offense. I have mixed feelings about the sentence, but her ex-husband seemed satisfied. It's not about punishment, he told me outside the courthouse. It's about the truth finally being acknowledged. His civil case was settled out of court. I don't know the exact terms due to confidentiality agreements, but from what he hinted, she'll be paying him restitution for years to come. More importantly, the court formally vacated the findings from their divorce related to abuse, clearing his name officially. As for me, I'm slowly rebuilding. I've moved to a new apartment in a different part of town, started seeing a therapist to process the betrayal, and even cautiously begun dating again. The experience has left me with trust issues, certainly, but also with a sharper sense of self-preservation. Some mutual friends have reached out to reconnect, admitting they'd been manipulated by her version of events. I've been selective about who I let back into my life. The friends who immediately assumed I was lying or who spread gossip without checking facts, I've had to let them go. Life's too short for conditional loyalty. The strangest outcome of all this has been my unexpected friendship with her ex-husband. We meet for coffee occasionally, bound by our shared experience. There's something uniquely validating about talking to someone who truly understands the specific kind of gaslighting we both endured. We're not close friends, but there's a respect between us, fellow survivors of the same storm. Last week, I received a letter from her. For a moment, I considered throwing it away unread, but curiosity won out. It was an apology, or something attempting to be one. I never meant to hurt you, she wrote. I've been fighting my own demons for so long that I couldn't see what I was becoming. I didn't respond. Some bridges can't be rebuilt, and some apologies come too late. The woman I thought I married never existed. She was a carefully crafted character in a story she was writing, with me as an unwitting supporting actor. If there's anything I've learned from this experience, it's that the truth eventually surfaces, no matter how deeply it's buried. And when it does, The only path forward is to face it head-on, no matter how painful the process might be. For anyone reading this who recognizes similar warning signs in their own relationship, trust your instincts. Document everything. And remember that you deserve honesty from the person who's supposed to love you most. As for me, I'm finally sleeping through the night again. And that, perhaps, is the most meaningful victory of all.